The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, has urged those who received their second vaccination against COVID-19 to continue observing the safety protocols, including wearing a face mask. The AstraZeneca vaccines, the vaccine in question, according to its makers, can provide about 76% protection against COVID-19. Dr. Kumar-Boaji was answering questions at the Ministry of Information organized press briefing to update the nation on COVID-19 management, especially the second phase of the vaccination program. On whether those who were fully vaccinated could stop wearing the mask, he said that the policy would be made by the government in due course on the attainment of national herd immunity.
The second jab, well, it may give you protection, but doesn't protect everybody. Let me explain to you. For example, the one with the highest efficacy vaccine is about 94%. Which means that 6% of those who have had that vaccine can still be infected. I mean, the probability that they can be infected. Now, you have three benefits. Being infected, you are protected from being infected, but it's not 100%. Hospitalization, getting sick and being admitted, you are protected, some of them as high as 80 to 90%. And then the third event is death from the vaccine. Now, as long as not enough people are vaccinated, the 6% of the people who are vaccinated who may have the virus may transmit to somebody who is not vaccinated. And so as still a significant number of population are vaccinated, so that the chance of you multiplying the virus within you and you transmitting to somebody who is vulnerable is there. You all have to continue wearing masks, even if you are fully vaccinated.
He emphasized the importance of taking the vaccination, saying it protected beneficiaries from the viral infection, severe sickness and hospitalization and death. About 360,000 people who received their second jab in the second phase of the exercise, scheduled to take place from Wednesday, May 19 to May 26, 2021. Dr. Kumar-Boaji explained that those who took the first dose should go to the vaccination centers with their unique COVID-19 vaccination cards.
Those who had their first dose from the 1st to the 9th March will be the one that will be covered. And we are hoping that by 26th of May we'll finish, but it's really not a definite. We'll just go on until all the 360 are vaccinated. And if we are able to get more vaccines immediately, we will continue. We will start on the 19th, which is tomorrow. But so far, we have had refresher training. As part of our preparation, we have had to do a refresher training on the representatives of the 43 districts who completed the 12 on the May of 2029. And this is mainly we had a lot of work on the database, because the data is extremely important, because that was how we need to now show that we have changed the cards, and so our data requirements also need to be more accurate. We have to work on the logistics, and all vaccines have been distributed to the sites where vaccination will take place.
He said after taking the second dose, one's COVID-19 card would be replaced with a new one, which had enhanced features such as a hologram and QR code on it to aid validation. So far, he said the Ghana Health Service had dispatched all the logistics to the designated centers, while vaccinated and field officers had undergone refresher training to improve service delivery.
We have also made a revision on our cards. When you go to the site, first you have to we are advocating that you go to where you receive your first dose. Go there with your card. Your card will be reviewed to look at the date you will receive your vaccination, and then it will be replaced. It will be replaced because we have had some change, more enhanced features for the card that we will receive. Then if you look on the right, there's, please, let's go back. There is the QR code. Anytime you enter, there's a number that is written at the back of your card. That's what is generated as ID number for you, unique ID number for you. Once it's there and you take your smartphone to scan, it will ask you for your ID number. Once you enter, all your information will appear on the phone. And this is so that whether you're at the airport or so, and anybody wants to validate that you are really been vaccinated, your name, so you can write, and so you're able to pull out your results immediately. And you can also check for yourself to see if you want further information.
He noted that the side effects experienced upon taking the first jab could still be felt, adding that it took 3 weeks for the full immunity of the vaccine to take effect in the body. Dr. Kumar Buaji announced that the government was still engaging in bilateral discussions to secure more vaccines, even though Ghana would get more vaccines under the African Union COVAX facility, which was free. He said at the moment the country had 16,000 doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccines and was expecting 300,000 more.
Yes, you should expect. It's going to initiate, it's going to sort of come up with the same effect. You're going to get boost of immunity, and so you are likely to also have some side effects. There are people who didn't have any side effects. They may have it this time, or they may not have at all. So you are not going to expect anything different from what we saw in the first jab. And the decline in cases. Normally, the vaccine will take about 3 weeks to become effective in terms of reducing spread. AstraZeneca gives about 76% protection. So after 1 million, about 800,000 people vaccinated in a place where there's a critical mass of people where the cases are, it definitely is contributing to the reduction in cases, but also adherence to the protocols. The fact that we're able to celebrate Easter quietly, and the fact that Ramadan, the Eid was also, we're able to, they are all contributing to the fact that we have been able to remain stable. As long as you reduce interaction, people are not home, workplaces are applying the protocols, schools are applying protocols we should expect. So they are all contributing, but obviously the vaccine is also playing a role. There have been also a lot of bilateral arrangement. The COVAX facility still exists, that they will continue to give us vaccines, and that will definitely come. It will move from 20% to 30%, and we are hoping that one will come. There are also arrangements with Sputnik to get vaccines, and other, the private sector foundations are also involved in trying to mobilize vaccines into the country. And I think these are all the current assistance that we are doing.
As of May 15, 2021, Ghana's COVID-19 active cases stood at 1,325, declining from 8,000 cases witnessed during the peak period of the second wave of infections in February this year. So far, 93,456 cumulative cases have been recorded, with 91,384 recoveries or discharges, representing 94.4% recovery and 771 deaths. Ghana recorded its first COVID-19 cases on March 12, 2020.
The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is calling for the restructuring of the global financial architecture so it can respond better to the needs of Africa, as well as the cancellation of debts owed by African countries in the wake of COVID-19. Taking his turn to address the summit on financing African economies in Paris, France, on Tuesday behind closed doors, President Akufo-Addo noted that the Bretton Woods Conference, which took place as World War II drew to a close, created a global financial architecture which over the last 77 years has proven to be unfavorable for Africa. The Paris Summit on supporting African nations hard hit by COVID-19's fallout wrapped up on Tuesday with sweeping calls for massive financial and vaccination support for Africa and a broader sea change in relations between donor nations and the continent. French President Emmanuel Macron earlier called for a new deal for Africa. Among the goals he and other leaders outlined were doubling COVID-19 vaccination targets for Africa by the end of 2021 under the COVAX vaccine sharing scheme, persuading International Monetary Fund member states to triple so-called special drawing rights monetary reserves for Africa to $100 billion and giving Africa the ability to produce and distribute COVID-19 shots at home. Macron said this moment could be seized to respond to broader, long-standing and so far unaddressed challenges facing Africa. The same message was heard from Senegal's President Macky Sall. He said a paradigm shift is underway in Africa's relationship with richer nations, from having programs imposed on it to co-constructing what is needed. That offers hope, he said, because Africans know their problems better than anyone. More than a year in the making, the meeting, gathering leaders from Africa, Europe and global financial institutions, was backdropped by a series of bleak statistics on the pandemic's toll on Africa. If the continent has been less hard hit by the pandemic than other places, it is suffering in many other ways, with tourism and other revenues drying up. Africa's economy is expected to grow just over 3% this year, about half the world's average. It faces a nearly $300 billion spending shortfall over the next few years. Experts fear millions more Africans may tip into poverty, and less than 3% of Africans have been vaccinated against the virus. Tuesday's financing summit wraps up 2 days of high-level talks on Africa. On Monday, IMF member states agreed to clear billions of dollars Sudan owes the institution as part of broader support for Khartoum's democratic transition, and Macron announced scraping Sudan's $5 billion debt to France. The Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has stated that the Minister for Communication and Digitalization will between June and July announce the re-registration of all SIM cards in use in Ghana as part of measures to help in the formalization of the Ghanaian economy. He stated this during a speech at the 5th CEO Summit in Accra, where he was guest of honor. The Vice President noted that the SIM registration exercise is aimed at helping curb activities such as SIM box and mobile money fraud. The government's decision to formalize the Ghanaian economy has made it necessary for various identity cards to be brought under one umbrella. A 6-month grace period has been earmarked to get all subscriber identity module SIM numbers re-registered with the Ghana card.
I expect, as the Minister for Communications and Digitalization will soon announce that we will all, from maybe end of June or beginning of July this year, everybody will have to register their SIM with a national ID number. So we all have to do that, otherwise we lose that SIM. And that will really give us a real identity for all Momo transactions, for example. And it then takes away fraud that is taking place, whether it's SIM box or through Momo and so on. We will discard all of that.
The exercise is to add to the country's central database with citizens' unique IDs. The process of registration can be done on one's phone and does not require a visit to a telco outlet. It can easily be done by dialing a dedicated USSD code to be released soon. Furthermore, Ghanaians without a Ghana card can obtain the cards from NIA offices for free across the about 260 districts from July. The Minister for Communications, Esla Owusu Ekufo, on the sidelines of the 5th Ghana CEO Summit in Accra on Tuesday, gave a detailed rationale on the re-registration of SIM cards and other devices.
Re-registration of SIM cards is obvious. There's a lot of cyber crimes that are committed by people on our networks with our mobile money system. There's a lot of impersonation, identity theft out there, people on social media putting numbers for people to pay monies into, and there's no way of tracking them when it becomes clear that it was a fraud. So for security reasons, it is imperative that we register our SIM cards. The law requires us to do so. It hasn't been done for a long time because we didn't have a proper way of verifying the identity of the people to register them. All the cards that we were using had corrupted databases, so it was difficult. There was a lot of duplication in some of the systems that we have. But now with the national ID, we have a secure means of identifying and verifying the identity of people. And so now we can begin to implement the law properly.
The Chief Executive Officer of the 10th Generation Technology Systems, Mr. Tony Ntiado, has called on all government agencies to move fully to digital platforms, which according to him will enhance productivity in the country. Speaking at a roundtable meeting organized by the Ministry of Communication in partnership with 10th Generation Technology Systems and Open Desk, Mr. Ntiado stated that a platform like the Open Desk DigiGov environment is one of several technology platforms which enables government agencies to share information with ease amongst each other. The forum discussed what could be done differently with the right environment and technology for the benefit of Ghanaians and how English West Africa could achieve in the shortest possible time under the right digitization agenda. Tony Ntiado said he believed data security of this newly built technological platform is solid and can contain all government data and urged government agencies to work in sync.
Change happens, but change happens very, very slowly. So almost every single agency that I've been affiliated to or worked with, and it's public sector, when you start introduce technology, people buy into it, but it starts as a pain, very slow process. So that is a journey that you and I and everyone in this room can attest to. But it is a journey in the right direction. If we started many years ago, we'll be somewhere today. Many years ago, you will not find the ordinary old woman using smartphone. Today, even in the villages, those who don't expect to use smartphone use it. It's because of familiarity. So the gradual attempt to automate, and the more people realize that the computer is not their enemy, but rather a best friend, things change. And the assurance that it's not there to take over their jobs also allow for adoption and acceptability.
He urged all players and stakeholders to think digital, as government in recent times has accelerated its digitization efforts, especially towards service delivery by government agencies in a manner that captures and benefits every citizen in Ghana.
Most government agencies, NET2 has laid infrastructure from one to the other, all running through their data center. It all comes back to how well it's deployed. Because that infrastructure, for example, from the lady from Attorney General, the entire deployment in that Attorney General is not sitting at Attorney General, it's all sitting at NET2. If they can have access to it, even if it is slow, it basically means that there's communication between the Attorney General physical office or from home and NET2. Same also applies to the Judicial Service. In the case of the Judicial Service, they have an up-to-date infrastructure. But part of that infrastructure also has a connection with the smart workspace. And the entire smart workspace sits at NET2. So that connectivity is what we are discussing, but maybe using different technologies. To start with, you need the infrastructure, the cabling, the wiring from one agency to the other, but having a node or a terminal central point, call that central point today NET2, so that it means that it regulates the movement of the information on the same government network. What becomes more expensive is that one agency says, I want to do mine differently. Another one says, I want to do mine differently. Another one says, I want to do mine differently. You realize that you are dealing differently, but there's not an ultimate responsibility for someone to build the link between yours and another one, because you are all approaching it differently. The conversation in this room and for the global audience is that we must all think with the long-term vision. The ultimate aim is Mother Ghana. The ultimate aim is this country. So whatever investment we are doing, how can we position that investment for the citizen of this country and for your agency to be the end winner?
10th Generations Technology Systems is an information technology services provider with focus on SAP solutions, checkpoint cybersecurity solutions, and document management services in Ghana. Speaking to the media later, Mr. Tonin Tiado gave further insights into digital platforms that could help government increase productivity.
The main and core objective of today's event was to trigger a national conversation of interrelated digitization efforts. Different organizations in this country are embarking on small level automations without thinking of the bigger picture of how it's connected to everything else. So the entire DigiGov event expanded digital governance is then to see how if ministry or agency A or GBC is automating, how relevant is that data to another media house, and how can all of them co-share data flawless, seamless, and without any difficulty or fault. As a company, there are technology platforms you can look at in terms of how well you can share your data. But that is not what we are interested in. We are interested in triggering the conversation that as a country, to be able to compete with the likes of Rwanda and others, technology is the only way out.